want to start first with what are your comments on that future? Both what you agree with or disagree with, or your gut feeling for what this means to the America and for students. Who wants to go first?
I can, if you want.
Go ahead.
So one of the things that as someone who leads the technology integration at our school, one of the big fears that our faculty had as I was moving into the position, just given sort of the bumps in the road that they've experienced as they were onboarding their one-to-one program and as they were choosing what the foundational apps and programs would be that they would use in the classroom, is her whole job going to be to make me use the iPad or to make me use this tool, insert tool name here. And the answer is no. My whole job is to make sure that you are able to forge better, high quality, healthy relationships with your students. Because all the research that's out there shows that students learn best in an environment when they're with peers and adults who they trust. So if I can help them utilize technology to do things more efficiently, to promote student expression so that they can get to know their students in a different way, to give their students access to materials that really connect with their learning needs and differentiate with all the different students in the classroom, that's what technology should do. It should amplify and enhance those relationships. It shouldn't be a substitute for teacher-student relationships.
Humanize.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Other comments?
I know for our district, we've, this is my I'm new in this role, and the role has changed for the integrator each year, where it was online testing, from paper to online testing and things like that. So I'm there to support the teachers as well and help them build those relationships. But also we just started out and rolled out our one-to-one for our 7th graders. And so that's a big deal because they're not used to that. So I'm there to support the teachers and help them with different tools that the students can use, not only in school but out of school. And it's a responsibility for them. And our goal is to get our elementary students prepared, like get the technology integrated more into the classrooms. We have the smart boards and things like that. But getting, tying the curriculum all in, because it is a digital world right now. And it's going to only get more detailed with digitalization. So we ended up deciding, get the elementary schools on board to get them prepared for the middle school. And then the middle school gets prepared for our high school, where we have our CTE program building there too.
So I would say she's sort of at the early stages. Like you're sort of
Yes.
at the early stages. Your existing structure is the same. And you're layering in.
Yes.
But you haven't maybe yet hit the point where some teachers are overwhelmed. They've got 50 apps and they're starting to form a little inner circle resistance movement, and they're having moments about the whole thing.
I do have that. I have
Okay.
that only because the role of the integrator has changed. And so at first they're like, okay, you're just doing testing, or are you here to help me? So it's a little bit of everything. So I do get the resistance from some, but once a lot of people see how I help them, then they're able to utilize me more. So I've been really trying to help teachers, because I was a technology teacher, so I try to help them. They give me some lesson ideas and lessons that they want to use, and I help them use the technology for it.
Okay, so we're going to use this mic now.
Okay.
So basically, you're at the point where people are starting to get into it.
Yes.
Have you had, like Washington, D.C. Public talked to us about this at the National Gathering. You might remember him saying this, Dwayne McClary from Washington, D.C. Public. Originally, teachers were thinking, like, maybe you're going to try to replace me with all this technology stuff. And every district that's further along even than you guys are so far says, no, that's not what's going to happen with technology. And I agree. I think that what technology should be and will do at its penultimate is completely cause the humans to just do what they do best, which is be human and eyeball the kids, hug the kids maybe, if that's allowed. I don't know, hugging's sort of going out of style now. But, really be there Have you gotten to the point where anybody said they fear for their job?
No.
Go ahead, hold this.
No, I haven't. They just wanted, they're overwhelmed. Some teachers are overwhelmed because they feel like we should just have a computer teacher. And so.
Why are we doing this?
Yes. Why? Yeah. Instead of them doing it. So I'm trying to show them it's not difficult. You can just do this in every day. You don't have to do a whole lot of extra planning. It's just taking your resources that you have already and utilizing them into a lesson. So if you're doing something with geography, why not map out something? There's, apps out there. You can have them map them out.
Yeah.
Something like that. Why not go to different art museums, but you can do it through using Google Earth.
Yeah.
And pretend it's like a trip, virtual or something. So it's just utilizing the tools and tying them in to their curriculum, not making them do more stuff. Is what I'm there to kind of help them with. Like, it's okay, your second graders aren't typing 98 words a minute. It's okay. Like things like that.
Okay, so it's baby steps.
Yes.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So I'm going to have you guys comment next. Because where she's at right now, what she's hearing and seeing, is still in the early stages before it hits this real, I'm just telling you, not to scare you, but there will be friction worse than you've seen before. But how about you guys?
Sure. So it is a pathway. You start from what you're talking about and where do you want to be. That's what you need to determine. And what it comes down to is technology is a tool. It is just like a pen or a pencil or any kind of a tool that you use to elaborate. And I think technology is moving faster than what we as a teacher or as an administrator can comprehend, but the students can. They know exactly where they want to go. So how to cap this and what the future should look like, or if it is not going to look like, what it will evolve into, is we need to keep the outcomes in our mind. This is the outcome we want to achieve. If you want to show someone a museum, what is the outcome we are trying to achieve from? Is it part of the history, or is it just for excursion? We need to do that. And I think in the end, as we were talking about our online delivery mechanisms, we need to look into the ideas of how to capture the ZPT, how to see the zone from where the student is coming, and adapt our lesson according to that. If somebody is coming in with a really good base, should be able to start from D, not from A. And that's something these new courses should be developed as.
Yeah. Modularized.
Modularized.
That's what we're hearing, modularized.
Correct. And then there are processes already in place, but they are not getting the traction because these are some very deep minds who are trying to do that. And I have a student who's in 7th grade and is taking 9th and 10th grade geography. And he just goes out to the high school and he does that. And he's like, I don't want to be in this class. Now, what are we doing to that student? We're trying to hold him down. So when you bring him some online resources which he can use to further himself, I think that's where it is really, really coming to play well.
Yep, absolutely. Jay?
I think we're a little bit similar to Michelle, kind of early on in the stage of rolling out technology in the district. We are actually going to be embarking on a 101 initiative starting next year. So we've selected 2 grade levels, 5th and 9th. We have a traditional kind of K-4 school system, 5-8 middle school, and then 9-12 high school. Funding is an issue for us, and we're trying to infuse as much technology in the schools as we possibly can. And as a district, we have enough resources to be able to roll out an initiative at 2 grade levels. So we kind of strategically picked 5th and 9th. We're going to provide all of our staff and students with a device to try to take away some of the barriers to technology and try to standardize a little bit with some of the different products that we're using in the schools. But it's obviously going to be a 4-year initiative. After 4 years, we'll implement a different grade level each year. The child will keep the device for 4 years and then do a refresh program. But in 4 years' time, we'll be able to basically provide every student in our district, 5 to 12, with a device that they can use. And then we're going to be starting, we've started work with professional development with the teachers now to kind of prepare them for this change. I have to say, none have been concerned about losing a job or them being replaced by the device or any of the different software applications that they use. They're very eager to try. I think the bigger issue for us as a district, we have a relatively small technology department to support the initiatives, and we just have so much variety in the number of apps people are trying to use that we're trying to help support. That's what's been a little bit difficult for us. So as we put more and more technology in the buildings, that's something we're going to have to deal with internally. But we're still in the early stages as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna say something. So Kerry, starting back at you then. So the next thing, usually after these stages, I think maybe you're a little further ahead, but the next thing, and you're way far ahead, because you've sort of like been through the whole thing, is that refinement and choice and the true alteration of the teaching job, so that you're aiming at, if not actually achieving, more real personalization, not just tweaking, but real. So can you talk to us about that? Because we're talking about the future today, like where's it going, why? So can you talk about that?
Sure. Thank you. So we're in our 7th year of our one-to-one program, so we've been through the bumps in the road early on. One of the things that the greatest piece of advice I could say to someone who's embarking on a one-to-one program where you're looking to create a positive tech-rich environment in the classrooms is that we need to look at the integration of technology not just into academics for academic means, but it needs to be a real whole child approach. And so creating an embedded digital citizenship curriculum that is just like we have literacy embedded across our entire curriculum, or we have certain mathematical skills embedded across curriculum. As someone who has been a social studies teacher for many years, we look at research data and we analyze it and we turn it into infographics. And so we're using mathematics all the time, even in social studies, just as we are using our researching and writing skills. We are also thinking very carefully about how we're using our devices and apps in that classroom environment. So we're talking all the time about the different skills that we're using, and digital literacy skills need to be one of those focus areas of skill building in schools, just like any other literacy that we emphasize, with its own standards. And I work very closely, I work in our schools to develop what our digital literacy standards are, but I work closely with schools in districts all over the country to identify what are the high areas of need in your school and in your community, not just that because of what your teachers are identifying as areas of need that students need help with, but also what are parent concerns. Is sexting a big concern in your community, or is it more impersonation, or is it gaming, right? Gaming can be a great thing or it can be a negative thing. So what are the concerns that your parents have? What are the concerns that your teachers have in terms of what they're seeing in the classroom, and how can you work together to make sure that you're elevating this digital literacy skill level of your students, in addition to making sure that the tool serves them for academic purposes. So that's the training of the teachers on how to effectively integrate apps into their classroom, not just as the reward, but as something that's an integral part of the learning process, is really only step one. There will be a time when students are, because they're adolescents and because it's how they're built, not because it's their fault, are unable to activate self-control when they have access to both entertainment and academics on the same device. And so how will the adults deal with that when that happens, not if that happens? Will they treat it as something to be punished, or will they treat it as an opportunity to build a relationship with that child and help them figure out how to learn self-regulation? And by the way, just because you have a chat with them once, or they get attention once, like they're gonna do it again a whole bunch of times. Just like we have conversations with our children about what's the most healthy food to eat or how much sleep they get. And these are things that teachers do in classrooms all the time. That doesn't mean that they're, oh, well, I chatted with him about it, so he's going to get 8 hours every night for the rest of the school year. Like, no. right? Same thing with technology, right? So same thing
They'll
with
never
technology.
make that mistake again.
And I
They
think
will.
with adults, because it's not a conversation they're accustomed to having, they get really frustrated when they're like, but I told him very clearly that's my class expectation. If he doesn't meet it, he's out. Well, guess what? They violate expectations all their time. They're adolescents. It's like they're wired to do it. So it really, and it doesn't mean that there aren't your very rare cases of students who do it for malicious purposes, but really they're very, very, very rare. There are very few bad apples when you're talking about, you know, your 10 to 18-year-olds who are, it sounds like the population that we're talking about the most. It's on us to get used to the idea that this is their world. It isn't a digital world and a real world. It's one world, and we're living in it too. And so we can't say, oh, but I'm not qualified to have those conversations. I'm going to give it to the technology teacher. Yeah. We have to all be able to have that conversation, right? I know, you know it, you hear it.
Yep.
And so it's our responsibility as the leaders of these institutions to make sure we elevate the capacity of our faculty so that they feel prepared to have those conversations. And when a point comes up or a student says something that they're unfamiliar with, they know how they're going to respond. And not just be like, well, I don't know about that, so put your device away. Like, that's not an okay response. And we need to even do role play and scripting so that they're ready for this when it happens. So the integration for academic means is just the beginning. There's this whole other part that happens where that tension exists you were talking about.
Yeah.
Once you get past that, and we are finally past that at my school, where we have policies in place for when these things happen. We have, there may be a disciplinary layer, but there's also a counseling layer, and there's a family involvement layer. That's all part of the approach that we use. Then you're going to see teachers starting to modulize, the word that you used is that works fine, but create learning experiences for students where it can be self-paced, and the teacher is sometimes still standing up lecturing, because guess what? Sometimes teachers are just damn good lecturers, and it's worth the experience, right?
It's true.
But that's not the only trick that they have up their sleeve. There's a lot of other strategies that they use to reach students, and you may have groups of students doing 3 or 4 different things in the same classroom at the same time because technology allows them to access those different experiences. And the teacher can still monitor what's going on in all those places because the technology allows them to. That's the transformation that we're talking about.
Yep. Go ahead. Okay.
Oh, I was just passing.
So I love this one. I loved everything you just said. Love it. I just want to also pull out from that something for you guys to also comment, and that is this sense of agency and differentiation between the two worlds, because it's one world. Okay, that's a really great point, because I have to admit, and I'm just going to make an embarrassment of myself right now, my ability to turn off playing on my phone when I'm waiting in an airport for 4 hours, or to fall asleep at night, stop playing the game I like the best. I actually am bad at that. Like, I never got your lesson and I need to come to your school now. Because that is a skill that we were never taught.
Yep.
And as parents out there, everyone should be really delighted by the fact that maybe schools will be teaching this skill, right? Because they're all seeing their own kids unable to be untethered from the device. Like, literally can't. Literally will cry when you pull it away because they gave them to them when they were 2, right? So this is a whole other level of skill that even adults can think with. And I think it's one of the things that triggers teachers to fear. And here's why. The teacher knows that when she's on her own iPad, she can't get off. So she's afraid to let loose students into it because she will lose them. So anyway, I want to comment about this agency and the skill to be human and be digital when it's appropriate, right? Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, I know one of the things that what I try to, support the teachers is to let them know you can still teach your curriculum, but if there's certain times that they may need the device, so you don't have to use it all the time in the classroom. I also I see with some teachers, and I was a computer teacher, technology and stuff, so I know how long it takes. Like, you just don't ride a bike, get on a bike and ride it without training wheels. But one thing I try to express to the teachers is when I've helped them, like use a new program or like typing or something, or I'm like, okay, we're gonna work in Word or Google Classroom, the teacher is in there like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute.
Slow down.
We're 2nd and 3rd grade. Okay. You're stressing me out. You know, I don't say that to them. I'm like, I can only imagine what the students it feels like. So I'm like, let me take this over, okay? You know, I'm like, let me do this. And I model. That's what it is. I don't just teach lessons. I model it for the teacher.
Good.
So they can see how to use the technology to teach their students. So I feel like the teachers sometimes are like robots and machines themselves. Like, I have these expectations, they need to come in and they need one chance to sign in and they have to get it right. And those, you know, the grade before didn't practice with them, or the grade, you know, this grade, they should know this right here, right now. And I'm like, just give them a second. You know, they need, because that stresses the kids out. If you're, you know, if they forget to put the year of graduation at the end, and you're already stressing them out, they're already stressed out, so now everybody's stressed out. So that's what I try to do, is humanize it though. Even though I'm using the technology, we're all still people. We're all human, we make mistakes. It's not a perfect world. So I usually will just take over the class and show them how to do it. So, and I'm like, see how easy that flowed? Like, I talk to the teacher after, I let them know that you can do this. And one of the things I work on is the digital citizenship. And it's a big thing because students need to know the why behind what you're asking them to do.
Yeah. And they need some breathing room, like you were just saying. Just breathe, everybody.
It's okay to make a mistake. This is how we fix it, kind of thing. But even with digital citizenship, teachers like, I wanted you to work on this. Yeah. I'm like, okay, but I also need to go over digital citizenship with them. This is the first time I've had them in class. They have already went over it. The sheet went home. I was like, oh.
One time, one and done.
That one sheet, I said, are you talking about that sheet that goes home for all parents to read and go over with theirs?
In other words, right?
Yeah. And I said, okay, I said, all right, your kids. So my dad always says I have a really nice way of like turning things around, kind of putting people in their place. So I was like, no problem. I'm like, okay, everybody, this was 2nd grade class. And I just said to them, I said, okay, who knows what digital citizenship is? Who can tell me something? It was like crickets.
Ooh.
In the class, so the kids couldn't do that. Whoa. And so I said to the teacher, I'm going to show them a couple things that I want to go over with them. And it was like this cute little video that I had that was made for them. And then even at the end of the lesson and everything, the teacher was like, that was a good idea. You know, because I said, they don't, just because you sent it home doesn't mean their parent went over it, doesn't mean they read it.
No.
They need to constantly see it. And I constantly send things out, so while they're having like a working snack, I'm like, put this on for them. Like I send an email, here's a link, have them watch this. I send it out throughout the year, different things, so.
Amazing.
You have to, you're humanizing things, but you're also, you gotta, you know, tell them it's okay, you're a human to make mistakes.
Yeah, well, plus we're moving, you know, because underneath digital citizenship is agency, the ability to run yourself. Okay, so this is a human thing anyway. Like, who can run themselves when they're 5?
So students are tethered to their device. What a great problem to have. Now it's up to the teachers and us to connect to that device and try to teach them what they want to learn.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's
and that is the piece that one has to really capture. Yeah. I know I have issues with the principal and the vice principal all the time. This child was on a gaming site. We need to take its Chromebook away. I said, I don't know what you're talking about. Can I take your pen away? No, I can't. I mean, we need to talk. And a lot of time I get onto the wrong side of them. But you know what I'm saying is, this is the issue that we need to solve somehow. That our teachers and they do, and when they understand that aspect, they do come along and say, okay, great. So we implemented technology so they can feel okay, the teachers can feel the student right now has just finished the work, now he can go to this gaming site, it's a math gaming site, and they can play. We opened it and they can play the game because they've already done their work. Then we said, okay, we also try to use these different tools so they can create an environment where they can talk with each other, which is a great social learning process. It's a Harkness method. So why can't we do all these things as we do, in addition to what they're doing in the classroom to teach their students? So very recently, we started a new initiative in our school. We put in on their Chromebook, there's a bookmark called See Something, Say Something. We allow the students, very anonymously, just write down a note, do you see any concern with somebody else?
Wow.
And we thought they're gonna just turn around and they're gonna just put out these messages which won't be appropriate. But they are so good at it. They say, okay, I can see this. He was sleeping in the classroom. Now, of course, teachers should know as well. But you know that the student is himself worried about why the student is sleeping in the classroom. Things like that. I mean, those small little things, if we can divert them, which can help the child to learn and to get educated, I think that's where the technology plays the best.
Yeah. Awesome. Jay?
Yeah, I just think, from my perspective, it's about finding that balance, and hopefully in time utilizing the different technologies, having it become more natural.
Yeah.
When the technology is a good aspect to use during a lesson, and I don't think there's ever going to be a replacement for that one-on-one human, the teacher-student relationship. But again, just over time, kind of figuring out when to integrate and weave in a particular technology. Is there a particular app or what element for the lesson might be helpful to just re-emphasize something or reteach something? And I think it's going to take teachers some time, but it's kind of finding that balance.
The balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said there. I just want to make a comment and then pass this right back to you. The attention of the Learning Council has gone to the fact that, believe it or not, America's sort of fickle, right? Americans are enamored of technology. It's part of our culture. Like, I just watched the Steve Jobs movie recently, and I realized I met almost all those executives in the course of my career. I met Steve, Markula, all those guys. And I look back at that time, that thrill, that it was just, does anybody remember those days? It was just unbelievably off the charts enthusiasm for raw technology. But we're still living that. We're still living the early iPod glow that students just have, 100 songs on their hip. They were like flipped out. So we have a technology culture.
100 songs.
Yeah. So you get what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that most executives in education go, well, you can't get rid of the human thing. True. But the arc of change right now has the potential to disintermediate that human interface for a time as people get sucked into the glitz and glamour of this unbelievable software being built now, right? That will teach you math and will onboard you, and with almost no teacher intervention, although it can be inserted, but it doesn't have to be. You'll start at 5 years old, and by the time you're in 6th grade, you'll know full calculus. It will do that to you. You see what I'm saying? My fear is that if we overly hold on to, we'll always be here, we're like death and taxes, we won't necessarily do technology enough and right, the good stuff, because we'll cling to that human interface. And every other industry is proving that wrong. It's just proving it with Amazon. Like, I won't go out of my house on the weekend if I can help it. Right? I will stay home to pet my dogs and hang out with the kids, whatever, right? That's my concern. Mm-hmm. What do you have to say to that?
I think the challenge, for public school systems, traditional kind of K-12 systems, is everyone wants to be kind of on the curve. Or if a new technology comes out, everyone wants to jump at it or gravitate to it. Yeah. It's a fight for resources as well. And I think a lot of school systems, I can speak to Massachusetts, but across the country, have limited resources to put toward particular products. And I think you will find, and I'm guilty of this at times too, maybe not wanting to jump in or be the first person to jump into a new product because you don't know if it's going to be sustainable. Is it going to align with your curriculum or your assessments, your diagnostics, whatever you're using in your district then? How big of a difference is it going to be? And if you keep putting your limited dollars after different initiatives that don't end up panning out, you put yourself in trouble. So I think it's finding that balance between... It's tricky. You want to be out with the new and jumping on something at the leading edge, but you also need some certainty because you've got to go back and sell it to your school communities and your towns who are funding you to make sure that the money that you're actually investing in technologies is appropriate and it's going to be sustainable. And it's not going to be a new technology that comes out, everyone jumps on board, and then we switch 6 months later to something else. I think it's finding something that's going to have, which is a little bit different, I think, K-12 and some of the high-tech industries you've talked about, because you will see high-tech companies come and go real quickly.
Yeah.
You know, K-12 institutions, you know, have been around or will be around. I think it's how they're going to be reshaped over the years to come. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to leave with this one comment end off, and that is here in this Design for Digital Special Report, we laid out the future structural change, like what that would look like, right, for workflow and how education could be. And after listening to you guys, and actually I've seen this in a couple of the cities, there's some people that are here, they're talking about a complete change in their structure and new job titles for everyone, and the way that we're going to execute is going to be totally different. They're at a different place. You guys are not necessarily all the way into structural change yet. You're manifesting the change that is the main thing happening nationally right now. But you eventually get to discussions about organizational shift, I think. I mean, we've all sort of touched on that today. But I think what's actually happening now, and this is just my last comment before we end off, is that what we're really doing, what I'm so proud of you guys in really doing, and I want you to know this before you leave here today, is you're doing something for kids that's never been done in history before. You do know that, right? You're giving them back self-agency, and you're driving at real personalization. This has never been done in the last 150 years. Okay. Well, it's been done maybe when people were homeschooled, all of them were, or they went to monasteries somewhere, or they weren't taught anything at all anyway, except, you know, how to bale hay or whatever. Now we're at a point where you're actually transforming. You're doing something that has never been done in history, and I want you to know I am super duper proud of you, and thank you very, very much.
I just have one last comment on your point, just 1 minute. So the future should be that learning should be 24/7, not just at the time when they come into the class and leave. And they don't have to come to learning, learning has to go to them. That's the future should be. How you do it, that's something to be figured out.
Yep, I agree. So thank you guys, thank you very much. Let's all give them a round of applause.